Hello everybody, this is Ron with the Patriot Power Freedom Files, and I am going to be talking about what transpired on today's date, November 11th in 1778. It is the Cherry Valley Massacre, a pretty brutal battle. And first off, I would like to apologize for the long delay. Last several weeks I've been fighting off and trying to recover from COVID and the flu and whatever else came my way. I get sick about once every 3 years, and so when it hits me pretty hard. But I'm back in the saddle. I finally have my voice back. So let's talk about what happened in 1778 on today's date, November 11th. So the Cherry Valley Massacre, it refers to a tragic event that took place on November 11th, 1778, of course during the American Revolutionary War. This brutal incident took place in a settlement of Cherry Valley, which is located now in present-day Otsego County, New York. The massacre was part of a larger conflict between the colonies and the British forces, along with Native American tribes that oftentimes became involved on one side or the other. So a little bit of background on this particular battle. So the War of Independence between, obviously, the 13 colonies and Great Britain had been going on since 1775. It had finally reached the frontier regions where the Native American tribes were drawn into the struggle. They either aligned themselves with the British or the American forces based upon promises of protection or land. Now, the location of Cherry Valley, it was a pretty small settlement in the Mohawk Valley, which was a region strategically significant during the Revolutionary War due to its location, and it had a lot of resources. So the parties that were involved in this massacre was the, of course, British Army, which was trying to maintain control over this area, and they oftentimes collaborated with the Native American tribes to launch attacks on American settlements and the colonists and the colonial army. The Iroquois Confederacy, particularly the Mohawks and Senecas, they both sided with the British in hopes of preserving their territories and their traditional way of life. The American colonists, now this was a predominant American settlement, and its residents were at high risk due to their allegiance to the revolutionary cause. So they supported independence, and that put them in a bad situation. So Cherry Valley was strategically important for both sides due to its location near the Mohawk River and a tremendous amount of agriculture resources. The British, led by Mohawk chief Joseph Brant, he was an incredible guy, he planned an expedition to the Cherry Valley to disrupt American supply lines. Also, he wanted to terrorize the local population and discourage support for the revolutionary cause. So he's trying to get all the colonists to not side with Americans. So on today's date in 1778, Brant and his forces, along with a contingent of the British regulars and Indians, they did a surprise attack at Cherry Valley. The residents were totally caught off guard, and the settlement quickly fell into chaos. The attackers engaged in brutal and indiscriminate violence, so much so that they killed men, women, and even young kids. Homes were burned, settlement was ravaged, outbuildings, barns were burned, animals were killed. It was bad. In fact, reports from the few survivors documented the horrifying events, including mutilating the dead, scalping, and it was just not a pretty picture. In fact, it shocked not only the colonists, but the other side as well. So the Cherry Valley Massacre had intensified hostilities on the frontier, leading to increased fear and animosity between the settlers and the Native American tribes that aligned with the British. So instead of subduing the colonists, it actually fueled a desire for retaliation among American forces, which contributed to the continued cycle of violence that took place on the frontier. So the legacy of this was the Cherry Valley Massacre is a poignant and tragic response in American history, illustrating the high human cost of the Revolutionary War on the frontier and the very complex relationships between colonial powers and the Native American tribes during this turbulent period. The Cherry Valley Massacre stands as a somber reminder of the brutality that often characterized frontier conflicts during the American Revolutionary War, highlighting the complexities and consequences of alliances between colonial powers and Native Americans.